Hey, there we are. So, the box has been printed. I installed the button and I wired up the Arduino Micro. So, show tech desk. Get closer. All right, so here it is. So here's the button and here's the box. And if you open up the box, we've got the Arduino Micro right here and just the two wires coming out. So the wires are just connected to the button itself. And basically it's open, it's like a switch, like an open and closed switch. And the two wires go into this little braided deal here and wrap around and come inside of the housing. And then the two wires come out of the braided wire. And one connects to pin number 9 on the Micro. And the other one connects to the ground pin. And then the USB, it has a connection for mini USB or micro USB, whatever kind of USB that is. USB comes out and then it connects to the computer. And we are connected now. Show gaming. I'll put this housing back here. And so, let's see. Show front. Show front. Show gaming. There we go. Got to figure out how to go to that camera without changing. I guess I could do front camera. I'll change that here in a minute after I do this video. Okay, so here's the code. I had ChatGPT write the code for me. I was having some issues with the button. It was like not registering quite correctly, so I had to rewrite it. And I know the code's pretty small here. I wonder, can I make it view? What if I just hit Control+? Oh, look at that. It does get bigger. Nice. All right, so let's, there we go. Cool. Cool. Can I move this down? No, yeah. All right, look at that, we're in business. Okay, cool. So this says to include the Midi USB library so that the Micro will act as a Midi device. And you have to use a Micro or a Leonardo, I think, for this to work, because those are the two boards that work as peripherals. Like they make the computer think that they're controllers when you have them plugged in. And then you include the Midi USB library, so it does Midi. And then basically it says, okay, button 9, that's where the button is connected to. The pin 9 is where the button is connected to. And the button is usually false, which is a Boolean. It's bool. It's like true or false. Bools are true or false. This is like intro to programming stuff. If you're interested in code and programming, you can definitely search for like C# intro or coding intro, and you'll hear about that. There's floats, which are numbers, and there's bools, which is a true or false statement. And so it says at the set up the pin and initialize the pin, or initialize the pull-up button state of the button. And then now, always void loop. I'm not sure how many times a second it loops, but it loops a lot and really fast, and it's always checking. And it checks if the button's pressed and if the button state is false. Because if the button state's true, meaning if the button's already pressed, we don't want to activate this, because then we'd get caught up in this death loop and it'd be really bad. So only if the button is not active do we want this to register. And so if we press the button, we send note 60 on channel 1 at velocity 127. We wait 50 milliseconds, and then we send the note off, which is basically the same thing. It's channel 1, note 60. I know it says channel 0, but that's how stuff works in coding. And then note off is the velocity 0. That's a note off for turning off. And then wait 50 milliseconds, and then turn the button state to true. And so now the button is pressed and the state is true. So it only does this loop once, and then it cuts it off. And then it waits and is still looping, but it's because now the button is pressed and it's true. Now it's not activating this loop right here of sending the message. It just sent it once, and now that the button is pressed, it has stopped sending it because the button state is pressed, it's true. Then when we let off, if the button presses high, meaning if you've let off of the button, if the button is not being pressed, the button state is false. So as soon as we let off the button, it becomes high, and then it immediately changes button state to false. And so now it's ready to be pressed again. And the note on, so you can say it says note on 06127. That's the data to pass to note on. But the actual note on is here. It's like byte channel, byte pitch, byte velocity. and then it sends this MIDI event pack with its number language code stuff. And then here's the MIDI library, MIDI USB.send MIDI node on. And so like there's some backend code from using that library, but all you have to do is just tell it to send this function or method, I guess. This is a method technically. I'm not a professional, so I don't know the professional terms, but basically you're calling on a backend thing that's included in that MIDI library that you included, which is the send node on, and then node off is the same thing. It's that simple. That's it. That's all the code. And it's inside the board now. So you don't need to have anything running. It's just on the board. So whenever the board is plugged into a computer and you push this button, it'll send it. And we can prove that because if we go here to MIDI translator, we can see the Arduino micro port is open. And if I press the button, it sends the note on. I know it's really small. I'm sorry. I don't have zoom on this one. I don't know if I mentioned that. It sends the note on. And then when you let off, it sends note off. And that's it. Now, okay, so it sends note on off right away. That's what it does. Oh, that's interesting. So it's sending it multiple times. So I probably, let's see, are we still connected? Yeah. I deleted this piece of code to tell it to wait to delay. And so I'm going to put that back in. So we don't get a double trigger as I'm letting off if it accidentally like reconnects or something like that. Because the button, it's a $6 button. It's not that high quality of a button. So it when I'm letting off, sometimes it re-triggers. So I'm going to put this delay back in. I'm just going to hit upload. It's compiling it. It's uploading it to the board. And it's done. And then it has some kind of weird thing that happened there. I don't even know what that is, but it's working, so that's fine. And then we'll go ahead and open the port again. We'll clear the log window. And now, okay, we're still getting it. But now you can see as I'm hitting it, it's just registering once. I can hit it a lot of times in succession and it'll work, which is all good. But if I just hit it once and I let off, it doesn't re-trigger multiple times because it puts a little bit of that delay in, so it won't catch a little ghost trigger as I let off the button. Isn't that cool? Stuff's cool. Anyway, so the button works now. So now I can plug it into the streaming PC. It will send this note, and then whenever I'll hide the housing and the cable underneath the desk, and then I'll just have the button on the desk right here. And then whenever I want to use a vocal cue and I don't want to pause, I can just be like, bop. You're just like, oh, I'm going to say that thing. Bop. And just say it. Hit the button. Bop. Say the thing. Bop is not a vocal cue, but it is what it is, you know? And then that's it. We'll be good to go. And it's cool. Show tech desk. Get closer. And since we've seen this now and seen that it's all in there and working, this housing right here is actually from the 12-volt battery that I picked up for the guitar camera, and it was just sitting in there, and I was like, where am I going to put this board? I'm like, oh yeah, I could use that housing for that battery that I took apart, and then we'll be good to go. So I can just stuff this under the desk. It'll be protected down there, and we've got a working MIDI button. Just finish screwing these screws in, then we'll really be solid. Literally, we will literally be solid. The housing will literally be closed and solid. And so that's done. Also, I got the show front. See, I don't have it. I don't have the button plugged in yet to the streaming PC, so I can't just do it yet. But I also got the display port to HDMI adapter this afternoon and already installed that so that I got the splitter running. So now the feed for the stream is coming in on this monitor right next to the camera that I'm looking into right now at you. And then it's also coming in the feed over in the corner so that when I'm sitting at the piano, I can see the stream feed as opposed to just the video PC feed. So we're solid on that front as well. So we're in good shape now. I mean, there's nothing more as far as I know. There's nothing more. I mean, this was it. Those were the two things that I was like, oh, I got to deal with that. And now, hopefully now, it'll all just be on the software side and I can start focusing on just refining and continuing and getting into it. I'll just feed this box back there, get the cable back there, and then this button will just live like right here. And I'll just feed it in there. Oh, look at that. It's perfect. It's just so incognito, just sitting right there. Just anytime I want to do vocal cue, bam, bam. That's cool. All right. I got a vocal cue for stop recording. Let's see if it works. I'll see you later. Stop recording.